Today I'm here representing Tengku Zafrul Aziz, MITI Minister, to launch the MYSite Selection Portal and the Malaysian Industrial Park Directory. MYSite and the directory are not just tools, but platforms for paradigm shift in how we see industrial development into the future. I would like to suggest that there are three major paradigm shifts that we will need to take in order to project Malaysian Industrial Park, or to actually raise the standard of industrial park, as well as to suit the time of our era. The first paradigm shift is that we need to invest in supply chains and not real estates. Malaysia's industrial parks have become too much of a real estate play, which is not helpful to the nation. As the global supply chain relocated to Southeast Asia and particularly to Malaysia over the past few years, it is evident that investors come to Malaysia not because we have many industrial parks. They come to Malaysia because we have an ecosystem. So they come for ecosystem. And I think this is something that we have to remember. As a nation, we want to build resilient supply chains as closely and as seamlessly connected with each other as possible. And before COVID-19 and before the recent geopolitical upheavals globally, for many decades, for several decades, manufacturing sector operated on the basis of just in time. That means spreading the supply chain globally and connecting them with containers. But today, the motto is no longer just in time. The motto or the tagline or the fundamental ideas in thinking about supply chain is no longer just in time. It's just in case. Which is why everyone in the boardroom globally is now talking about de-risking. De-risking is just in case. How to deal with de-risking is to have a more secure and more resilient supply chain. So previously, because of the way global supply chain were organized, which is spreading everywhere, and for a period of time after China joined WTO, China was a factory of the world. Therefore, most of the factories in Malaysia for the longest of time were vertically connected globally. That means you have this factory here. Actually, we have many semiconductor factories or semiconductor companies in Malaysia that are actually producing automotive chips. But the semiconductor automotive chips industry has nothing to do with Malaysia's automotive industry. Right? They are not connected. They are not horizontally linked. But I think this is time that we have to see an organized supply chain in a different way. And it is in the interest of the investors, as well as in the interest of the nation. We now need to ensure the emergence of strong linkages domestically. It means not just vertical, but horizontal linkages within our industry. Malaysia must position itself as a secure and resilient supply chain. Therefore, industrial parks should not be about real estate play, but about building supply chains and ecosystem. I hope to see some of the current batch of major developers, especially those who are owned by GLC and GLIC. I hope that they are not seeing industrial park as a real estate play, but actually, I am hoping some of the big players in building industrial park, some of the big developers, I hope they will actually put money and put their brain power into creating ecosystem and building supply chain. And if we can have that meeting of minds and a paradigm shift in this respect, we will see Malaysia as the indispensable manufacturing nation. We may not be having the top technology, but we should position Malaysia as the indispensable middle in the supply chain, that we are indispensable, but to do so, we must have a very strong supply chain. And to do so, we need the developers, we need industrial park operators, we need the industry, to see all this and to have to be on the same page. The second paradigm shift that we need to do is to stop building just for factories that house foreign workers, but build livable communities for Malaysians. Malaysians' urban planning is actually very much influenced by a very old idea from the United Kingdom. This idea is called garden city planning, or garden city. The idea of garden city was because it was a 19th century idea, and why the UK in the late 19th century came up with the idea of a garden city, city planning or urban planning, was because in the 19th century, industrial town was dirty, messy, filthy in the United Kingdom. And because industrial town had a bad name, so the reaction to that was to build township away from industry. So garden city basically segregates housing from where you work. But if you put a 2020s lens on it, something is very wrong, because if you segregate where you stay from where you work, your carbon footprint will be very high. And this is what we are facing now as a nation. We segregate where we stay and where we work, and resulting in very high carbon footprint. Everyone needs to own a car. We became American before we got rich, and we are paying for it. But interestingly, over the last few years, because of necessity, but because some developers enter into this space, we now have CLQ, right? Centralized labor quarters for foreign workers. Because there is a space there. There is a space where people find money there. Now we think that it's okay for foreign workers to stay near the factories, and therefore we are making it happen. But I think we should go one step further. It is a good start. It is not. I'm not saying that this is bad. I think it is a good start where we now accept that workers can stay near where the factories are. This is a very good start. So where should we go? I think we should think more from building for foreign workers to building for Malaysian engineers and Malaysian workers. Now, we do not want an economy that just hire foreign workers. This part is basically my standard speech that is for Tan Sri So. Malaysians do not want to build an economy just hire foreign workers while our youth work in Singapore, Australia, and South Korea as cheap labor. We must be very determined to reduce the number of foreign workers by making hiring of foreign workers more expensive and to make automation a cheaper option. Now, this is my pitch to Tan Sri So and everyone else who are here. As a nation, we must make hiring of foreign workers more expensive so that we can make usage of automation a much cheaper option. I want to take this opportunity to encourage all of you to take a look at the Salary and Wages Survey Report 2023, which was released by the Department of Statistics of Malaysia, DOSM, yesterday. In the Salary and Wages Survey Report 2023, there's one part which is a good news. The median wage grew by 7.1% in 2023, much higher than the growth rate. And this is very significant. It's a significant feat and it's a good news. But the bad news is, the legacies of more than 30 years of over-dependence on cheap foreign labor is that shows in the report, is that 50% of Malaysian workers are earning less than 2,602 ringgit per month. Medium wage means 50% of people who are working are getting a salary. So medium wage is 2,602 in 2023. It is already the highest in history, but it is far from a decent living for 50% of the population, and it is a very low figure. As a society, we must feel a collective shame about this fact. We must change that, and let's come together to remind ourselves, my colleagues in MIDA, MIDA, FMM, and everyone else, that every economic decision that we make, and we make together in this country, the primary objective is to create a middle class in Malaysia. I think this has to be drilled into our mind, that whatever we do, we must aim to create better jobs, better pay for Malaysians, so that we have a middle class society in Malaysia. And as we tell and I want to bring it back to industrial park. Very often, people come to us and say, oh, we don't have enough talent. I want to repeat this message to everyone. There's no talent problem in Malaysia. There's only a pay problem. If you pay enough for Malaysian workers in Singapore to come back, let's say you pay 2/3 of Singapore pay, Malaysian workers will come back. Most of them will come back. And so we have talent. But of course, to adjust from a mindset of paying 1/3 of Singapore pay to paying 2/3 of Singapore pay, it's not easy. Here is where industrial parks can play a role. Industrial parks can play a role by creating housings for Malaysian engineers and for Malaysian workers. Think about this. Let's say a factory can pay half of Singapore pay, but put in very affordable housing near the factory without you having to own a car. You think about it, let's say if you're a young person, a young engineer who is working in Singapore. Well, I might pay 50% of Singapore pay in Malaysia, but I can stay near where I work, near the industrial park, and get a very nice accommodation without having to pay a lot. I think this is the way the industrial park comes into this space to create, and if we can create enough housing for young engineers, we will be able to keep many young engineers in our industry. And therefore, I urge the industrial park operators to think through this and to see this as a major way of helping Malaysians to keep Malaysian talents in our industry and to create, to move away from an industrial model that depends on foreign workers, but use what we have developed for CLQ for Malaysian engineers and for Malaysian workers. The third paradigm shift that I would like to come to is that we want industrial park to compete and to meet high standards. Let me explain the rationale behind the thinking of MYSite Selection Portal and the Malaysian Industrial Park Directory. Why we are doing this? Under Malaysia's federalism, land matters is a prerogative of the state governments, and municipalities, that means the local governments, are governed by the state government, not by the federal government. I think this is the fact that many foreigners may not understand. But this is the structure of the Malaysian constitution framework. Malaysia has 600 industrial estates scattered across the nation. Not all industrial parks are created equal. Some are very good, some are poorly maintained, and some of them give a bad name to the nation. The federal government has no control over how an industrial park is built and managed, apart from issuing and imposing national standards, laws, and regulations. But how to get industrial park to meet the expectation of foreign investors who may not understand Malaysia sufficiently? How to protect national reputation? Previously, there was a tendency to sweep things under the carpet, but there is now a paradigm shift. In 2018, the Malaysian Industrial Park Directory was born out of a collaboration between MIDA and FMM. Back then, it was a simple yet effective way to guide businesses to the right industrial spaces. Now, 6 years later, MIDA and FMM are once again collaborating to create platforms that offer essential tools and reliable information for entrepreneurs, businesses, and professionals. These platforms will assist users to navigate the diverse industrial landscape and identifying promising opportunities. MYSite Selection Portals allow anyone, be it investor, developer, or entrepreneur, to access detailed information on Malaysia's industrial park in one place. Through advanced filtering and analytical tools, the portal simplified the process of identifying sites that match specific operational needs. The efficiency saves valuable time and resources for developers and investors alike. And by enabling seamless communication between industrial parks developers and potential investors, the platform facilitates meaningful partnerships and accelerates project timeline. For developers, a dedicated platform to showcase their projects and attract the right investor, boosting visibility and unlocking potential. For investor, a streamlined process to identify and evaluate locations that align with their business objective, reducing uncertainty and enhancing efficiency. And we are not stopping there. MIDA and MIDA, in collaboration with CIRIM, are working on a star rating system for industrial parks, which evaluates the following 4 key parameters. First, planning and management. Second, infrastructure and business competitiveness. Third, environmental sustainability. And fourth, social responsibility. These measures will ensure that every industrial park in Malaysia meets acceptable standards and called out. And this is important. Once you have a star rating system, and once we publish it, we will also help call out those which do not meet the standards. In the near future, this guideline will be seamlessly integrated into the MYSite Selection Portal, empowering investors with detailed and transparent assessment. This initiative will not only promote high-quality industrial park, but also set a benchmark for developing new ones, raising standards and safeguarding Malaysia's reputation. While the federal government doesn't manage industrial park, as I mentioned earlier, as I explained earlier, MIDA and MIDA have very limited funding for industrial park upgrade. I am told that there used to be hundreds of millions under MIDA to do so, but now for 2025, it is only 15 million. But we are working to upgrade the infrastructure through a pledge and pitch concept in collaboration with local council. The theme for pledge and pitch in 2025 is 5G adoption for industrial park. Just responding to Tan Sri Saw's request, also his view earlier. I fully agree with you. We need to do more to spread and to ensure that there will be 5Gs, a lot more 5Gs in the industrial park. MIDA will invite local council to pledge and pitch to bring 5G to the industrial parks under their watch. Engagement with key stakeholders including Digital National Berhad, Telekom Malaysia Berhad, Malaysia Communication and Multimedia Commissions MCMC, and industrial park developers have already begun to ensure the success of this initiative. So in conclusion, doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome is insanity. What works in the last 30 years may not be useful for the next 30 years. We must do things differently and at a fast pace. And this is in this context, in the context of this 3 paradigm shift that I spoke about, I'm delighted to officially launch the MYSite Selection Portal and the Malaysia Industrial Park Directory. Thank you very much.